Good morning. I'm so excited to be doing this. It's kind of awkward because I've never done this before in this format, so just bear with me. I'm hopeful that as these continue, they become less awkward for me. But we're going to push on through anyway. So I have kind of been toying with this idea of doing monthly updates on my Instagram account, but I've been working really hard and trying to put some effort into a website. I've toyed with websites before and have found myself vastly undermotivated to update content and develop content, and so that's been weighing heavily on my mind recently, and I decided that it's something that I think I just need to do. It will allow me to give a full update of what we planned out for the month to come. I'm a huge planner, I'm a note writer, checklist maker, so Sharif and I have sat down and kind of gone over our goals for the farm this year, and then broken it down kind of month by month. So I wanted to give an update on those things, kind of let you know what we plan on doing in the month to come, and then this will also be a place that I can kind of talk about changes that are being made to the website. I have a lot of ideas for this coming year, so this will kind of be the place that I talk about that. Subscribers to the website will get this in the monthly newsletter before anybody else sees it. Eventually it will go up on the website, but I think that subscribers will probably get it like at least a week earlier, so it'll give you some insight that way if there's offers and things like that, which I'm hopeful that there will be at some point this year. Then you guys that are getting the newsletter will see that first. So that's my plan for this. We have so much to do this year. I'm so excited and I'm so inspired by this place and by just the layout, and I can't wait to jump in. So when we did our goals list for this year, one of the first things that we knew we needed to do was get the pastures up and running. We do have a goat area right now. We just got our buckling last weekend, so we now have the 3 goats, and hopefully we will have kids at some point, baby goats, kids, at some point this coming year. So we definitely need to have a pasture. One of the main things that we loved about this piece of property is that it does have 2 fenced off paddocks already, but they were electric fencing and they have not been on in probably years. So the posts are in really good shape. The shape of the paddocks are there. There's grasses that are growing in those spaces, and so we decided that we're going to start by doing just one of them. There's one that sits off behind our house and it's in much better shape. It gets a lot more rain runoff from the house, and so it just generally is in the pasture itself, like the grass is in better condition there than our other pasture, which I think is going to take some coaxing. Everything looks a bit dead right now because it's December, but that one looks like it's been grazed more and might need more work. So we decided to just start with fencing off the one pasture that sits behind us. Like I said, the shape's already there, so all we will have to purchase is the galvanized electric fence wire. I think we're going to do 6 strings, I couldn't think of the word, 6 strands of wire all the way around. Goats are really notorious for being escape artists, and we don't want that, since our whole property is not fenced in at this point. It would be awful if one of the goats escaped. So that's the plan, is to just fence that off. We'll have to get the fencing as well as the clips to go on all of the T-posts. We have all the T-posts, they're in the ground. We might have to like reorganize some of them a little bit, and we want to create like a barnyard in front of where the goats' sleeping area is, so that there's kind of a sacrifice spot for the chickens and the goats, because the idea is that the chickens will also be fenced in. I am flat tired of having chickens on my porch, so that's a goal, is to get the chickens away from me. And then we'll have to get the electric, like the charged box. We're going to get one of the solar powered ones so that we don't have to worry about like recharging it and stuff. So that's the plan there. Those are the supplies that we'll need. We estimate it will probably only take us a weekend, but my estimates are generally wrong, so it'll probably take us like 2 weekends of work out there to get that done. So that's the first thing that we plan on doing in January. And then the second part of that, which kind of goes in line with it, is that we want to practice rotational grazing so that we're not just going to let the goats go on the whole field at once. We're going to break each pasture, and I'm terrible at saying how big pastures are, so I hope to get a video of our property at some point. But the back pasture is pretty big. We could just run the animals in it, but I don't want to do it that way. I want to practice rotational grazing because it is better for the soil, it's better for the plants, and ultimately it's better for the animals. So we will probably break each pasture into 8 sub-pastures or paddocks, and then it really will depend on how fast the goats eat it down. I'm thinking that we'll rotate them once each week, like every Sunday we'll move them, and then the idea is that each paddock will get a 3-week rest in between. So we'll let the goats graze it down until the grasses are about 4 inches, and they've kind of selectively grazed their favorite pieces, and then we'll move them to the next one, and then you mow the first paddock, you mow it down to where it's not super short, but it cuts off all of the stalks of grass. And then when it rains, then the manure breaks down and it feeds the soil. The roots of the plants are able to go deeper and take a better hold because they're not under the stress of having the plants eaten off, like, she's so pushy, eaten off really low to the ground. And so the idea is that your plants will be, the grasses will be a lot stronger, and ultimately they'll be more nutritious for the goats is the plan. So what we're going to do with that is either get electric fencing to put across in the paddocks or get electric netting. And we're not positive yet which one of those we're going to use. We want to get the outside set up first, and then we'll kind of talk about and think about the difficulties of those 2 options. I suppose the third option is just getting like temporary fencing, like net fencing, and putting it to break up the paddocks. But again, I'm not positive on how we're going to do that yet, but the goal is to break that pasture into a total of probably 4 paddocks, so that we can start practicing rotational grazing. So yeah, that's our pasture plan, which is the big project in January. I'm trying to pick like a big project and then some sub projects that are not nearly as time consuming or labor intensive, I guess. So the second thing that we're doing in January is planning and plotting and likely tilling our garden space. I'm starting with a much smaller garden space this year than what I did at our old house. I'm not too proud to say I bit off more than I can chew last year. With the garden, it was just too hard to keep it weeded, especially with it being a first-year garden. The weeds are going to be much more, the weed pressure will be much more intense the first year. So I condensed it down. I think that this spot is now about 25 feet by 25 feet. And then we are not going to purchase any seeds this first year. And I want to practice a lot more seed saving. Purchasing seeds can get really expensive. And the goal for us, what we really want to keep in mind, is reducing our cost, becoming much more community sufficient, having things on hand like saved seeds that we can barter for other things. So I have a really good stock of seeds still from last year, thankfully, and I did do some seed saving this year. So I think that aside from extra beet seeds, onions, and garlic, that I will not have to purchase any seeds this year. So I'm really, really excited about that. At least for the vegetable garden. I have a good start on herbs and actually pretty good start on flowers too. So I think that I'm just going to like force myself to not purchase a bunch of seeds this year, save money to put towards other things. And we should have a great garden year. Anyway, so the kids and I went through our seeds this morning and picked out what we definitely wanted to plant, and then the next part for me will be breaking down our garden into sections and deciding what I'm going to plant where, and then tilling the garden. So those will be things that happen in January to prepare for February, which is when you start planting your first seed starts this year. So that's the plan with our garden. The third thing that we are starting in January is our first spring birds. We have, I think, about 8 eggs in the incubator right now, which will be our first official 2022 hatch. All of our chickens are running together right now. I had them sectioned off into a barred rock flock, a Wyandotte flock, and then kind of a mixed flock. But when we moved to the new house, I didn't have the separations. It's in my closet in the bathroom. Mom life stops for nothing. So I didn't have the same setup here. I didn't have them broken up. And so I just threw them all together, and I'm actually kind of fond of that now. The roosters have created a really neat dynamic. They have their own ladies that they prefer, and the ladies prefer certain roosters. So I'm going to kind of see how that goes and just be okay with running a mixed flock right now. I know that I'll still get some really beautiful birds. I know that I'll still get some purebred birds from those different roosters and hens, but I'm just not going to put a ton of focus right now on having them separated out. There's just so much more work that deserves attention before me creating 4 different chicken spaces does. So that's our first hatch will be happening on the 5th of January, and we are really excited to have babies again. And then we will raise them like we did this year until they're probably about 2 to 3 months old, and then we will sell the females as coop-ready pullets. Our birds have been starting to lay between 5 and 6 months, so if I sell them at 3 months, then it's only 3 months where people have to care for them prior to them laying. And also, I've found that people really prefer to not have chicks. Chicks are kind of annoying, and so when you're having to get chicks in the spring when most hatcheries start selling chicks, and then you have to keep them warm under light, all that stuff, it's just more work than being able to go buy a pullet which is a young hen, can just go into a coop. And then we'll raise out the roosters like we did this year and butcher them. That seems to work really nicely. We also plan to get some meat bird chicks this year, and raise some meat birds. Our birds are a great dual purpose. They make a good roast chicken, they make a great soup, they make amazing bone broth and stock, but they are not super meaty. So things for just like chicken breast or stuff like that in recipes, they don't work great. So we want to get some meat birds so that we can kind of part and piece those out and use those for like our chicken meat throughout the year. So we do plan on doing that, and then we're really hoping to get some ducks and some geese this year as well, which means that I need to set up a better space for them, plan a space for them. That'll probably be happening in February, but I am really hoping that we can hatch some ducks and some geese this year and get some more diversification to our birds. I would also love turkeys this year. We'll see. Those bigger birds are a lot harder to come by, they're a lot more expensive, and I don't have the knowledge right now, so I would be learning new things, which I don't mind at all, but you know, maybe not pack all those in at the same time. This is Mama. She is a pushy kitty. So yeah, that's kind of what's happening on the farm this year. I'm working to develop some recipes also. So that's been a lot of fun, but we're really excited to jump into these projects. We're really excited to put more energy and effort into our website. bringing more inspiring and informative content, and building our own skill set so that we can share it here and show you all how we are going to develop our farm. So thank you for signing up for the newsletter, those of you that have, and I look forward to talking to you in late January, early February.